Channel 5 Network. This is OpenLine.
Hello everyone, welcome to OpenLine on Wednesday night. I am Ben Hall. Very good show tonight, a show in which I always learn a lot and a good opportunity for you to call in with questions. We are talking with an attorney, elder law attorney, Tim Takacs, and we're going to talk about all kinds of topics, a chance for you to call in essentially and tell your story and get some advice. He will talk about wills, power of attorney, Medicaid, veterans benefits, should you give away money to a family member, and how do you pay for a nursing home. All of these things, and we're very happy to have with us Tim Takacs. Thank you for being with us.
Glad to be back.
Always good to have you.
Thank you.
Always learn a lot.
Thank you.
So I like to start out by asking, what have you heard recently in your office to give us a sense of, the kinds of things people are bringing to you? What recently has come through your doors?
Well, one thing that and I've thought about that, people think, well, I do elder law, so I've had people say, well, is Mr. Elder here, or who not really sure what we do. And most of our clients are what you would call older people, 65, 85. I've had clients who are in their hundreds, like 102 or 103, that are planning. But just like recently, I've had a married couple, and the wife comes in and she's in early 50s, and her husband is in his early 60s, and he's had dementia for 3 years.
So early 60s.
Early 60s.
And he has dementia.
He has dementia, and he has and of course we all know, at least certainly those of us in Tennessee, look what happened to Pat Summitt. Basically, about age 60, she got diagnosed with an early onset of dementia, Alzheimer's, or whatever you want to call it. But the fact of the matter is, that she has an illness, and this, just like this gentleman, very successful person, professional person, worked for a professional firm, retired at age 55 in good health, and here he is. They saved their money. They'd been married for 30-some years. They saved their money, no children, and now, 5 years after he retires at age 60, they're going to the doctor because he's having problems with his memory and, feeling odd, I can't think like I used to or whatever, and the next thing you know, here they are 3 years later, and she's coming into my office because she's going, my husband's like this far away from needing nursing home care. Now what do I do?
And how do I pay for it?
And how do I pay? Exactly. What do I need to do? He's still living at home, so at what point do I pull the trigger and figure out he can't stay at home anymore? We don't have children, so how are we going to, I can't rely upon that source of support. Fortunately, they have good siblings, but still you can't depend upon your brother and sister to take care of your spouse.
Right.
Those sorts of things.
And when you start talking about nursing home care, it's so expensive.
Right.
What are we talking about per month?
We're probably around anywhere between $6,000 and $8,000 a month in the Nashville area. There may be a few places that are a little bit more, but that's really the average. The national average runs around over $80,000 a year. That's a national average. If you were in some place like Long Island or whatever, you're looking at $12,000 or $13,000 a month. So you're talking about. Yeah.
So I don't know how anyone saves up for that.
Yeah.
But then
most people really don't, and what happens to them is that they may have enough for like 5 or 6 months of nursing home care that they save up for, maybe 9 months or whatever, but they either spend down to Medicaid or before the government starts paying for that, or they do something, or they don't go to the nursing home at all, and that's my concern, is for like my spouse that came in here today, my office, talking about, well, what am I going to do?
She's worried.
She's worried
that they'll spend down everything that has been saved.
That's saved, right.
In a matter of months, really, a couple of years.
Probably for them, they probably got 3 or 4 years before they would spend all of the money. And now when you think about that is that, let's say he went to the nursing home, say in 6 months from now, and at a cost of $80,000 a year, after maybe 4 years or 5 years, he'll be, in his late 60s? They have basically little or no money, and how old will she be? She won't even be 60 yet. Okay, and what is she going to do? Okay, he dies, and basically they've spent their money, and so they've got a house and a little dab of money, and she's not reached 60 yet. I mean, that's the kind of thing that people are, in this family is facing.
And I want to give people a chance to call in. There's the number 737 plus 737-7587. It's always interesting to hear your stories, hear your questions. But so what can someone do? You're talking about $8,000 a month for a nursing home. You hear that the nursing home may come after your house. You hear these other things that may happen.
Right.
What should people be aware of, and what can people do?
Well, one thing is, and I know that there's a common, there's as you referred to, is that the nursing home will come after your house. I don't look at it like that. Nursing home is like any other care facility. That if you need care, then the nursing home says fine. It's $200, $225, $250 a day. It's like living in an expensive, a hotel. When you get personal care services, if you can't pay it, they just say, look, you can't stay here. So it's really just like writing a check every month for $7,000, $7,500, month after month after month, until you don't have any money anymore, or you pass away, or you decide that you can't do that anymore, and then you take your spouse home or whatever. And most people aren't able to do that.
No. So
what they do is, so at least those people who are kind of in a crisis, that's, some of them, of course, they come to us and we talk about how to figure out how to pay for that, because there are rules about how TennCare Medicaid pays for that. But fortunately, the woman that came in to see us, I mean, she's planning ahead. I mean, clearly, she's got a problem. I mean, she and her husband have a problem, but she didn't come in, when he was already in the nursing home. She's going, okay, now here's our situation. My husband is declining. He's 63 years old. What do I need to do now to prepare for the future? He may be able to stay at home. We want to keep him at home as long as we can. So how do we use the money that we have, to take care of him at home? Maybe she's able to go to work, and maybe that's going to be a good thing, because sometimes just being away from that situation, and having somebody, to be there to take care of him, is healthy for her. But then planning for the next steps. Let's say he can't stay at home anymore. What facility are we looking at? How much is it going to cost? If he needs extended care in a nursing home, what can we do today, maybe to help, position her and put them in a position where in the future the state Medicaid program will help cover the cost of that. And those are the kind of things that we're going to look at and help them with. And then there's always and then there's always the thing is that always in the back of the mind of our spouses is, well, what happens if I die first?
Right.
What happens if something happens to me? And so we have to plan for that as well. So a lot of what we do is not just sort of the legal work, but is helping people build up a support system. Well, in this case, they really, their support system consists of, they've got money, they've got basically siblings, but you can't expect your siblings to take care of you, and frankly, often you can't expect your children. Maybe your children will help make decisions if you can't, but often, our families don't want them to take them in, change their diapers, do all those sorts of things.
These are tough.
They are tough.
Tough questions, tough decisions. Let's go to Julie on line 1. Hello, Julie.
Yes.
Hi, what's on your mind?
Well, I was wondering, like in my situation, I'm 10 years older than my husband, and I'm the one with the illness, and I've got vascular and heart and COPD and emphysema on oxygen, and if I was to have to go to the nursing home and we don't have any money, then what happens then if you don't have any way of paying it?
Right.
Yeah, and see, that's one of those things where for Julie, if she's the one that, is needing extended care, if they don't have any money, for one is the house is safe. We're not worried if they own a house, they're a married couple, they own a house, the Medicaid can't make them sell the house, the nursing home can't make them sell the house. So it's likely that if she needs or her husband needs nursing home care due to their illness, then she would be able to qualify financially for care. But the question for her is going to be is she going to be able to qualify medically? Does she need that level of care? And one of the things that I've talked for the last couple of years on this, on the show is that the state Medicaid program is becoming more strict, about the level of care that Medicaid will pay for.
What does happen to these people then that need this kind of care but can't afford it, or that have been paying for this kind of care for, let's say, a year or several months and then run out of money? Are they just kicked out?
Now, fortunately, if they're fortunate if they're sick enough, and here's the real thing that concerns me, and I think all of us, for all of us citizens, all of us people in Tennessee, is that if they are sick enough to be in a nursing home, then the state Medicaid program should pay for their care if they run out of money.
And state Medicaid is TennCare, is that right?
State Medicaid is the TennCare program, right. And so if they're sick enough, then the state but the state has changed the medical criteria. So maybe you are sick enough to be in a nursing home because you can't have anybody take care of you, but the state might say you're not sick enough for them to pay for your care. So what are you going to do then? And that's when you get into a problem of how do you appeal that? Can you get a can you get a determination by the state that you have no safe place to go? The nursing home can't discharge you because there's no place for you to go, so they have to pay for your care.
And this is a tough thing to appeal because it's at a time in your life when obviously you're in not good shape.
You're not in good shape, right? And then if you're fortunate, you've got family members or you have somebody that will be able to step in and do that for you. But what happens and what we don't want people to do is say, well, I'm not going to even go through this in the first place. I'm going to still go ahead and take care of my loved one. And then you wind up having, now when you have a 85-year-old spouse who's sick, and an 82-year-old spouse who is not real healthy either, and say, well, I'll never have my husband go to the nursing home. Well, then you're going to wind up with two spouses in the nursing home. Because that's just, being a caregiver is hard work. Mm-hmm. And being an 82-year-old female, sick caregiver, that's not a good situation.
No.
Yeah.
That's very difficult to do. Okay, we're going to take a break. If you want to call, there's the number 737+, 737-7587. If you're on the line, hold on. We will get to your call. A lot to talk about with Tim Takacs. Take a break. Be back right after this.